I've always been a little bit risk adverse, which is why the businesses that I went into were all things that I already knew. There's an interesting contradiction with my dad, who ran his own business. And one of the most fascinating discussions that I ever heard was him talking to a good friend of his who was the CFO of Midas, had a big job, was a big time executive, traveled all over the country. I don't know if he traveled around the world, but he used to say that he was the spokesman and had to do all the dirty work so the CEO could look good. Big job, big paycheck, extremely successful guy. And one day, around Christmas time, he's sitting across from my dad and they're sharing their stories. My father, being a small businessman, was telling his friend how much he admired his success and, wow, you had such a big job, that must have been amazing. And then in return, he said, geez, I admire you. You were there for your family. I was always traveling around and there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, and you had that freedom and flexibility which came with owning your own business. So you have two people successful in each of their own right, each one admiring the perceived perks of the other's position. But the point of owning your own business is there's two benefits. One, independence. But the second thing that's important is that you're reaping the reward. Someone's not just giving you a percentage of the reward, you're keeping all the reward. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences to that. You've got employees, you've got overhead, you've got the taxes, you've got all those things that come, which are stresses that a small business person has in owning their own business versus someone, if you're an employee, because you don't have to think about that stuff. You get the benefits and you get the 401k and your paycheck shows up hopefully every 2 weeks or whatever the pay structure is. So you're not responsible for maintaining the apparatus, but in return you're getting a small reward. You're getting whatever the market value is for your job. So it's a trade-off. Do you want security and do you want safety and that consistency that comes with not having to worry about those things, or do you want to go out there and take that risk for the greater reward? So it's just two different paths. It's not a right one or wrong one, it's which one's right for you. But if you're going to go out there and be your own man, I've always been a little bit risk adverse, which is why the businesses that I went into were all things that I already knew. So when I did independent contract work in radio, I would do editing. I knew how to do it already. I didn't pick something that was completely outside of my skill set and try to create something separate. It was an easy addition to what I was already doing. And it's the same thing this time around with advertising. I'm already selling my clients media within a certain wheelhouse, and we're just taking that and expanding that relationship into other places. They're not new relationships, they're existing relationships. I'm just scaling them outside of my immediate environment in new environments.